People who objected at a wedding, why and what happened afterward. Not me, but my parents were at a wedding where someone had objected. A woman stood up and screamed "I object" and walked out. The thing is, no one knew the woman. It was only after the wedding when the married couple showed the venue owners the wedding video. The owners told the couple the woman was in fact a disgruntled bride-to-be who wanted to book the venue on the same day, but could not as it was already booked. That's just wrong. Ruining someone else's wedding just because you were late in booking the date. That's as petty as they come. I assume she was a bridezilla. To quote my mom, she had issues. Big time issues. This happened at one of my friend's siblings' weddings. Her parents are super conservative and had not gotten the chance to know the daughter's fiancé very well before they got married. In their minds, all that was relevant about him was that he was 10 years older than her and had been previously divorced. They had made subtle and not so subtle comments here and there before the wedding that they were not happy about it. It should have been a forewarning of what was to come. The day of the wedding, everything was beautiful. Friend's sister and her fiancé were ecstatic to be getting married and invited friends and family from both sides to their outdoor wedding. All was going well until the preacher asks the audience if anyone has objections to why they should get married. And as serious as can be, dad of the bride stands up and says her mother and I object, and then after a long hesitation sits back down. Silence. No one can believe that just happened. Not knowing exactly how to handle it, the preacher just says okay and finishes the ceremony as planned. I cannot even imagine how the bride and groom must have felt. My friend says the tension in the room was unbelievable, but they got married all the same. They just do a lot of avoiding the aisles, as one might imagine. Oh my gosh, the poor bride and groom. Why do parents have to ruin everything? It isn't the job description. The purpose of objecting is if there is a legal reason the couple can't marry. The most common one would be that one or both of them are already married to another person. Another reason is if the couple are related by blood to an extent that they can legally marry parent-child, brother-sister, first cousins in some states. I suppose someone could not be aware the person they are marrying is their brother or sister, or someone could be hiding another marriage. In those cases, if you know something they don't, you could object, but why not do it before the ceremony? In those cases, if you know something they don't, you could object, but why not do it before the ceremony? Sometimes you married your sister off to a rich man without telling him that mental illness runs in the family. Her mental illness came out. You did not help. Husband did not help. No one knew what to do with her and just locked her up with a big part of the castle to herself. And then a French woman leaves her daughter with your sister's husband. That daughter eventually needs a governess, and your brother-in-law hires her and then falls in love with the governess and wants to marry her. But when you try to stop him before the wedding, he ignores you. So your only choice is to tell the priest so that the wedding actually stops. That only works if she burns the place down later. And the dude then gets to marry the governess anyway. I objected at a rehearsal dinner. BFF from HS was marrying a guy she worked with who was emotionally abusive. I hadn't liked him from day one. He had 3 ex-fiancées, a history of bad breakups, and was way too possessive. She called me in tears a few weeks before the wedding saying she'd made a mistake. I called her mom and said you might want to talk to friend. But when mom called, he answered and yelled about how I was bitter and wanted to wreck her happiness. She was beautiful, super smart, and just a wonderful person. The night of the rehearsal dinner, he stormed up to me, starts screaming that my job is to wear the dress, sit down and shut up. Replied calmly that I voiced concerns and was worried for her. Her family was livid at me. He'd done the charming thing with them and had them convinced I was the problem. There are photos of him glaring at me the whole night. Her brothers wouldn't speak to me for months afterward. Her parents were very cold to me. They got married. Wedding was a fiasco. No honeymoon. He'd decided she needed to clean the house. Within a week, he'd found her veil bill and told her as punishment for spending too much she would have to choose a dog to be put down. He left notes about how she needed to clean better or lock up the dogs. She would find him going through her bills and checking her phone. He controlled what she ate, wore, who she could see. She found a lump He told her he hoped she'd die and wouldn't he be there when she had the biopsy. When she woke up, he was next to her mother, holding her hand, talking about his beautiful wife. She called me in hysterics. I went over with her mom and sister. She finally told them everything. He was kicked out that night. Thousands of dollars later, he was off the deed. He tried to get her fired. Years of self-abuse, cutting and therapy followed. She never remarried. He dated more and then came out as gay. He finally left the company. She got better. I wish I had stood up in church and objected. It almost destroyed her, and her brothers are still shocked that I saw through that psychopath. But had you objected in the wedding, what would have happened? How exactly could you have helped your friend by doing that? Sad that it happened, but this one's not on you. Totally correct. I realized she'd go through with it at the dinner and was just focused on staying in her life. Speaking out at the wedding would have destroyed our relationship. Staying quiet kept me close enough to help when she was ready to accept it. I did not formally object, in truth. Do not ask that question. Usually, but told my friend we can jump in my car and leave now. Minutes before the vows. He did not listen, and they divorced not too many years later. She emptied their bank account too, and said I was just doing what I had to do. Same with my brother-in-law. Up to the wedding, he voiced some major doubts. I told him pretty much everything I could by quoting him to him and letting him know that calling it off is not some moral failing. Offered every resource I could, etc. He went through marrying her. He is now living with us after 2 short years of marriage. To no one's surprise, many friends seem to think they would totally speak up and tell them it is a mistake. But in real life, I do not think most people listen, and it rarely goes well to actually speak up. It is their decision. My friend had a kind of whatever attitude which made no sense to me. During his divorce, he showed up at my place with woe is me complex, so I took him in for a bit. Soon after, my place went under in a flood, and I mean under as in nowhere, and he did not show up, even though he lived less than 15 minutes away. That was that. Whatever. The groom got eaten by a dragon and the bride turned green. At first I thought you were lying, but then I saw her face. Now I'm a believer. Not a trace of doubt in my mind that it was a happy wedding. I have been in 4 or 5 weddings, and I honestly do not think the question was even asked. Or if it was, there was not some dramatic pause like you see on TV. I have always wondered if this ever actually happens and what the effect is. My sister sat me and our friends down before her wedding and explained that apparently, whether serious or not, an objection results in the officiant not being able to proceed. So, do not cough when the officiant asks for objections, unless you want to ruin a wedding. At least that is how it works in Ontario. Laughing my butt off. What the duck? Why? 2 willing adults want to get married, but oh damn. Some rando said no, I guess I can't marry them now cause this rando apparently has power to decide for others. It is an old custom from when it was not that easy to check if someone was previously married. So the question was more, does anyone know if it is illegal for these two to marry? Not does anyone not like what is happening here? Story time. This did not happen at my wedding, thank God. I was half in the bag with some cousins at a family friend's firstborn and the family daughter's wedding. It was an Italian wedding, so hopefully that sets the scene. 550 ducking people crammed into a 300-person church deck to the 9s. The place was covered in flowers. It was absolutely ducking beautiful. Now remember, me and my cousins are half in the back, sitting in the back of a church drinking grappa in water bottles on a hot summer day. The ceremony goes on and on, and the parts for who objects to this wedding. A random porter for the valet company runs in. Whoever owns the red and black two-tone 1976 Lincoln Town car, it is on fire. 7 large men get up and run out. Bride's mother stands up, says in Italian, let us continue. And then the wedding continued. I blacked out after course 8 at the dinner and woke up at course 12, 2 more courses before dessert. Not every wedding is drama. The car burned to the ground because Vinny ducked someone's wife apparently. 7 men run out to figure out which of the 7 1976 Lincoln Town cars it is. There was 5 separate town cars. I was like 7th best man at a friend's wedding. We met at a music festival parking lot, and when the pastor ghost got to the official say something mean part of the wedding, this short guy named Paul stood up and announced he loved the bride since 6th grade and that they had made love or some shit like that. Apparently they were mugged outside an opera and the mugger accidentally dropped his gun. It went off, killing him, and short Paul said oopsie doopsie. He was so embarrassed that they broke up. But the groom took credit for killing the mugger. It was a pretty wild wedding. How dare he embarrass her in front of their whole music festival. At my youngest cousin's wedding, he was 20 at the time, his brother basically started a chain reaction of everyone airing out why the bride was a horrible person. And I mean everyone called out how much of a piece of shit the bride was. The bride GF started crying about how we were all jealous of their love. Or their love is stronger than my parents or aunt and uncle s, both married 37 and 33 years at this point. Then she just reached this point where you can tell she was trying to say stuff, but it was only making audible noises. Now some of the bride's friends started yelling at us BTW. There was about 40 people on the groom's side and like 15 on the bride's, just yelling at all of us, saying a bunch of stuff. I honestly do not remember what all was said at this point. Meanwhile, the bride's parents, who had been divorced since she was like 2 and long remarried to others, got drunk and started ducking each other in this baptism pool the church had. Anyway, it eventually ended with all of us leaving, well, immediate family and a handful of my cousin's friends. They are still together. The bride is still a horrible person who has dragged my cousin down into a pit where I'm not sure there is any escape from. Neither hold a job for more than a couple days because selling pot is more profitable, and I'm pretty sure the bride is whoring herself out. According to something one of her former friends said, the only thing I can say positive about my cousin is that he at least tries to look after his daughter. Meanwhile, his wife is just always whining about how she cannot go out and party anymore despite always going out and partying. In the main room, or like tucked away in an office main room, there was this baptismal pool that stood above the main podium in this recessed alcove thing. But the way up was some side room in the back, I think. So they were ducking directly above the altar while the whole shit show went on down below, visibly. I think these days this phrase gets omitted by many officiants. It wasn't he present at my wedding, but then we didn't he have a priest. It was a former town mayor. He pretty much gave us the text ahead of time. We also did pre-recorded vows that the DJ played back. It was a smart move since both of us were too nervous to get it right. Objecting to weddings may be romantic in movies, but in real life, if someone has made it all the way to the altar, they're probably going to go through with it, and given how expensive the darn things are. I shoulder objected at my mom's wedding. She is on husband 4 and she treats him like a child and I'm like that. This happened to friend of mine. I was just there to attend from out of town. He was supposed to marry this girl who he just heard of and immediately fell for. So it felt forced though, cause instead of going to meet her, he hired some dude and his services. Can you believe he drives a jackass of a car to go pick her up and bring her to him? So back to the wedding. It was nice and all, and not only did it felt forced, but also rushed because apparently it was a late morning wedding. The priest was just about done and asks if anyone objects. Then boom, the guy he hired barges in yelling I object, as if he was in a courtroom. He tells her how he feels and how the time they spent together was great. She then walks away from both of them and says she has a secret she has been hiding. So when the clock hits the afternoon, some magic shit starts happening and she gets lifted into the air. Her whole body changed. She went from looking human to badly drawn character some people call ogres. Of course the groom is pissed and wants them dead, but then another boom. A dragon busts through the wall and eats him. So that's what happened to my boy Farquaad. Oh, for the love of. Thank you for watching. We hope you enjoyed this video. Please subscribe for more videos.